Hey you guys, so I don't know how many of you are into the Myers-Briggs type indicator, or if you're familiar with it, but I wanted to know if any one of you kind of have the same kind of concern about it that I do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I just wanted to briefly express my concern. And my concern with the test, for me personally, is once you type yourself based on the test, or you believe yourself to be one of the types, how much of it is you trying to mold yourself into that label, once you believe yourself to be that type, and how much of it is really uh, actively able to be adjusted? Because, like, if you think you're, an INFP, for example, which is what I believe myself to be based on the questions and reading certain stories about people who have been typed as INFP. Um, how much of it is me now trying to just, kind of screen out things that wouldn't otherwise be INFP because I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm an IFP. I do those things. Whereas, because I feel like I have certain qualities of the other types, and I know it's kind of generalized and it's all, it's what you usually prefer out of the two, or prefer, your natural preference. But I'm having trouble, buying the fact that once you're typed, that you, that's it, you're kind of labeled again. And I have problems with being labeled because I look at it as kind of an excuse for people not to change. Like, oh, well, I'm an INFP. I mean, what can you say? That's the way I am. And it's like, because then it's an excuse, and that's the only thing I don't really particularly like, I guess, about the MBTI. I like that it helps you understand yourself. It helps you understand your beliefs and your thoughts and your ideas and your behavior. But I don't like the idea of not being able to change, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. I don't know if I'm saying it the way I'd like to communicate it. But it's more, man, it's more about just using it as a label, I guess, is my biggest concern about it. Even though it is based off of, you know, major research and psychology, and it's not really something that's all, foo-foo. It is serious stuff, but I'm just wondering, if you get typed, that just means you have these particular strengths and weaknesses, but it doesn't mean you can't change, I guess. I want to be able to know that I can change, that I'm not just kind of like this boxed label now. I guess that's me. Anyways, because I just want to read here, I'll read to you what I, because, and it's kind of weird because I feel like acting, I'm actually having to put on a character right now just to explain this into a camera. Because this isn't really how I am in daily life. This is just sort of a character I have to put on in order to explain things. Or maybe this is me and I just believe my character to be the image in my mind. Anyway, I don't know if we'll go that far down the road, but so this is the book. I have both the art of speed reading people and do what you are, because I have no idea what I wanted to do with my life, so I've been constantly researching. Um, Maybe that was a little bit of an exaggeration, but I am pretty proactive about it. I don't. It's like, yeah, I want to know how I work. Anyways, um, so I'm gonna read the description they have here for an INFP, and then I'm gonna read the description I have here for an INFJ, I guess, because I'm pretty sure I'm an INFP, but I do feel like I might be see a few things in INFJ as well, but I think I'm an INFP. So here's the description that they have written here. It says INFPs are on a lifelong quest for meaning and inner harmony. Their lead function is feeling, so they are driven by their deeply felt personal values and are passionately committed to make sure their beliefs and actions are congruent. Their need for authenticity and personal integrity is so strong, they simply can't do something they don't believe in their heart is right. Sensitive and caring, INFPs have great empathy for people and can be extremely nurturing and comforting to those they feel close to. However, because they are so selective about what and whom they allow to enter their private world, they may appear rather cool, aloof, and even uncaring to people who don't know them well. It can take a long time to really get to know an INFP. Okay, I'm going to break here a little bit. I'm going to say, the thing is, when I read this, it's almost like it's the real me. It's like the core of me, but I don't want to believe it is, because it sounds so different than I believe society is supposed to be. So it's almost like I read it and I go, "Oh, man, I don't want to be like that," but I know deep in my heart that's the way I am. So it's almost like I just need to accept it, because I'm trying to pretend I'm something I'm not most of the time. And by me telling you this, it seems, I don't know, man. It's like, whoa. I get caught up in these mazes and I feel like I'm judging myself. And, anyways, the rest of it, so it goes on with, because INFP's least function is thinking, and because they feel things so deeply, they have difficulty stepping back and considering things objectively. Since they take almost everything personally, they frequently get their feelings hurt quite easily. Even remarks that are not intended to be critical can cause them pain. See, with that rings kind of true with me. Like if somebody says something and they don't, I might take it totally personally, but they may have no idea. And I probably wouldn't even let them know. I would just kind of like be seething inside. You know what I mean? And so that part makes sense to me. And comments or actions that unintentionally offend INFP's values are often experienced as a personal affront. Rather than confront the offender, INFPs are more likely to keep their feelings to themselves, allowing the resentment to fester. And they are often reluctant even to discuss the matter later. So sometimes INFPs will simply drop people from their lives rather than make the effort to work it out. Ironically, because INFPs tend to idealize relationships, they are often disappointed when someone does not live up to their expectations. Yeah, see that I do that. It's almost like I'm unaware that I do that until I start researching and reading how people, because putting it into words is totally not my forte. So when I read it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing. Because I do that. I idealize the relationship to a point where the real isn't even real anymore, and I can't distinguish between the real and what I've made up in my head, and I usually just ignore all the negatives and idealize all the positives until it's just a big illusion, and then things kind of collapse from there. Yeah. So creative and imaginative, INFPs have a great curiosity about the world and often have a passionate and lifelong love of the arts. Definitely. I love everything art related. Anything that has to do with expression, I'm very interested in. Because it's not so much the medium, it's the way it can be personalized, and you can really see somebody's like sincere core and soul shine through. That's why I love arts and modes of expression, music, literature. And if the person's being completely sincerely honest, it's something I can't even explain when you witness it, because it's otherworldly. It's not something that can be really described. It's just felt, and that's amazing to me. They especially appreciate new and unusual forms of self-expression. Not bound by convention or traditional ways of doing things, INFPs do not follow the pack, and in fact often feel a little out of sync with the rest of the world. Definitely. Open-minded and adaptable in small things, they are usually supportive and tolerant of others with alternative lifestyles, as long as their behavior or customs don't have a personal impact on INFPs or cause them to compromise their values. In those cases, the INFP can become rigid and unforgiving. INFP's primary focus is inward, and many have highly developed and deeply meaningful spiritual components to their lives. Sometimes their preoccupation with self-awareness can keep them from noticing or participating in some of the more pedestrian activities of the outside world. While they naturally imagine possibilities and consider how things are related to one another, they don't tend to be especially realistic or practical. They may find the more mundane day-to-day activities of life unfulfilling and may have to work hard to stay on top of them. INFPs often enjoy spending large periods of time alone, in quiet reflection, reading, or writing. It's definitely true. They are happiest when they can totally immerse themselves in interesting and personally meaningful projects. I can totally attest to that, because unless the thing is meaningful to me, I see no reason to even do it. Or if I start doing something and it has no meaning and I second guess myself, I just lose the motivation to even try anymore. And I like to spend a lot of time alone, like to quietly reflect. Doesn't mean I don't like going out every once in a while, but the majority of the time I'd rather spend alone, reflecting and thinking about who I am and how things work, and etc., etc. But it's almost like I don't want to admit this to myself, or I feel funny telling people this is the way I am, because I feel like I'm going to be rejected. So I've always had a lot of challenges with admitting, this is the way I am, because I want to be liked. I want everybody to like me. And I've come to realize that that's impossible. Not everybody's going to like me, no matter how much I try. So you just got to be you. And even though I quite often judge myself for these qualities, this is basically this is at the core of it, when I'm not lying to myself and I just am totally genuine and just throwing away all that goo and like other things. This is really who I am. So I don't know if that made sense, but that's it. Okay, bye.